6 back.
Next up is the event number 73, Women's Collegiate JV Grand Final for the Jackie Ann Stitt Hungness Trophy. Lane assignments: lane 1, University of Washington; lane 2, USC; lane 3, UCLA; lane 4, Washington State; Stanford in lane 5; Clemson in lane 6. JV Grand Final for women.
Just a hair. Back 3, just a hair. Back 3. There you go. Back 3, just a hair. Back 3. Back 3.
Go. And this guy's really needs some help with the kelp out there at about 12:50. What's that?
Push out 6, just a hair. Push out. There you are. Good.
All right.
And they're away in the Women's Collegiate JV Grand Final. Everybody's got a smooth start. Everyone seemed like they had the optimum start that they could hope for. And it's very even across the course. Although the crews in lanes 1, 2, and 3 are about to be hit by a mystery wake that's just causing the boats to go up and down a little bit. As they come down to the 250-meter mark. It's the University of Washington in lane 1 who have grabbed an early lead. They have about 3 seats over USC, who in their turn have 1 seat over UCLA. Then it's out to the far side, Clemson, who trail the 3rd place crew from UCLA by about a seat. In 4th place, in 5th place, it's the Washington State University, and at the moment the back marker is Stanford, but that could all change. All the crews are overlapping each other as we push down towards the 500, end of the first 500. It's the University of Washington trying to emulate their varsity crew, and they have now grabbed 3 seats over the University of Southern California, who are maintaining a 2-seat lead over UCLA. Then they're closely followed on the far outside by Washington State University and Clemson. Washington State have closed on Clemson, and they're even Steven. And the back marker, but not by much, is Stanford, and they're moving up between Washington State and Clemson.
At 500 meters, reiterating our lane assignments, it's Washington, University of Washington in lane 1. They were a heat winner yesterday and had the best time out of this group. In lane 2, University of Southern California, also a heat winner. In lane 3, it is the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. In 4, Washington State. In lane 5, that would be Stanford. And Clemson is rowing out of lane 6. Our 500-meter race call is Washington, followed by Southern Cal, and then comes UCLA outside to Washington State, all the way to the far outside to Clemson, and then comes Stanford.
close-up shot there of the Washington coxswain throwing out of lane 1. Battle here between Washington and USC. USC in the background.
They are now at 1,000 meters, and it looks like their lane assignments reflect almost directly their current standings, as Washington is in the lead along the shoreline and beginning to open up that lead over USC in lane number 2. Outside is UCLA. Then comes Washington State, being closely shadowed by Clemson on the outside and Stanford University. Looking at Washington along the shore, SC in lane 2, and Clemson kind of sneaking up in that outside lane of number 6.
USC coxswain urging her troops along. USC steering a little bit off to the starboard side. A little bit of a cross tailwind going on, affecting the coxswain steering just a bit. Relatively smooth water, although they've just gone through a stretch where they get a little bit of a blast from the port side. Washington now moving out with 500 meters to go with almost open water on the rest of the crowd, followed by USC, and on the outside Clemson.
This is Washington along the shoreline in lane number 1, and currently in the lead. Inside of them would be USC, and they are in lane number 2. Lane 3 UCLA, lane 4 Washington, Stanford in 5, and Clemson in 6. Washington along the shore seeming to have it in hand, but don't lose track of Clemson on the far outside. And in the center of our race course is USC, and outside of them would be Washington State and Stanford, with the UCLA crew trailing. Along the shoreline here, it is Washington. On the outside, Washington State starting to make a move, and on the far outside, Clemson fighting them off. Along the shore, this is Washington. Washington coming on the outside, in the middle of the pack rather, in lane number 4. Check that, in lane number 4, that's right, is Washington State. This is Washington along the shore. It comes Southern California, then to the crew from Washington State. On the outside to Clemson and Stanford, with UCLA trailing. Back up to the front, it appears that Washington has this well in hand for the Women's Collegiate JV Grand Finale. This is Washington across the finish line, very, very tight for second. And we're looking at Southern Cal, then out to Washington State, and possibly out to Clemson. Next up, we have event 74. This would be the men's collegiate JV grand final. And checking our lane assignments quickly, we have the University of Washington in lane number 1. That's Cal Berkeley out in lane 2.